Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive.
hmm
Today we're diving into The Greatness Mindset by Lewis Howes.
Such a good one.
And we're going to pull out, I think, some really solid, actionable insights
Yeah.
on how to achieve greatness and how to get over all of those obstacles that are always,
Yeah.
popping up in our lives.
Absolutely. And the cool thing about this book is House doesn't just draw on his own experience.
Right.
He brings in all these high achievers that he's interviewed.
Yes.
So it's like getting advice
It's like the best advice
from all these amazing people.
all in one place.
Yeah.
And the thing I love is he doesn't pretend like it was always sunshine and roses for him.
You're right.
He starts by telling us how at 23, he was broke, living on his sister's couch,
Yeah.
injured after a football game.
Not exactly the picture of success.
Not at all,
No.
right?
No.
I think most of us have this image of what success looks like.
Right.
And I think a lot of times,
It's not a guy on his sister's couch.
it's not a guy on a couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thankfully, he had his sister there to kind of give him that push that he needed. He
Yeah.
basically told him, like, listen, you got to pay rent or you got to find a new couch.
Tough love.
Tough love. Sometimes I feel like we all need that little extra push,
Yeah.
even if it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And I think it's that saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
And he was in a situation where,
He had to invent something,
yeah, I had to figure something out.
figure it out. And he did. He really embraced that challenge. He
Yeah.
dove into learning LinkedIn like nobody's business.
Right.
He devoured the 4-Hour Workweek, which is another great book.
Yeah.
And he was networking online like crazy. So I
Yeah.
love that he's giving us these specific things to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And just like, oh, go be great.
It's actionable advice.
It's actionable.
Yeah.
And he actually used all of that to build a 7-figure business.
Yeah. So he's walking the walk.
He is walking the walk.
Yeah.
It's not just theory.
So he's making money. He's hustling. He's doing all the things.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He actually says outward success
Yeah.
isn't enough. And he talks about this thing called not having a meaningful mission.
Right.
And he says that's the enemy of greatness.
Yes. And I think it's so key
Yeah.
because he's basically saying, don't chase success just to be successful.
Right.
You need something more.
You need that deeper why.
Yeah, why are you doing this?
Right.
Otherwise, you're just going to get to a point where it's like, well, now what?
Totally. It's like you're on a treadmill,
Yeah.
you're going through the motions, but you're not really
You're not going anywhere.
going anywhere meaningful. And Howes quotes Viktor Frankl in this.
Oh, yeah.
And he says
Love Viktor Frankl.
that the first thing that gives life meaning is a project that demands your attention.
Ooh.
So that's the question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What is that project that is demanding your attention right now?
Yeah. What's the thing that lights you up?
Yeah.
Because that's a clue
That's a clue to that meaningful mission.
to your meaningful mission. Yeah.
Now, even if we have that mission in mind,
Right.
we're still going to hit some roadblocks.
Oh, absolutely.
Howes doesn't sugarcoat that at all.
Yeah.
He actually talks about failure quite a bit.
He does.
And he uses this story of Jason Redman to kind of illustrate this.
Jason
You
Redman.
familiar with Jason Redman?
I am, yeah.
So Jason Redman, for those of you who don't know, Navy SEAL, severely injured in Iraq.
Yeah. And what's crazy is I think
That's crazy.
it was so bad that the doctors were talking about amputation.
Oh, wow.
Like it was that serious.
This is pretty intense.
Intense. Yeah.
But here's the part that just gets me.
okay.
Redman's in the hospital recovering,
Yeah.
and he overhears people
Oh, this is brutal.
talking about the broken soldiers,
Yeah.
and he realizes they're talking about him.
Oh, it's like a punch in the gut.
It's devastating.
right. Yeah.
And so many of us have had those moments where we feel broken or we feel
Yeah, listen to them.
less than or we feel defeated. And it's like, how do we respond in those moments?
Right.
And Redmond decided right then and there that he was not going to be defined by his injuries.
Love that.
And he actually wrote this manifesto called Get Off the X.
Yeah.
And it's all about taking ownership, not letting your circumstances dictate your identity.
So powerful.
It is powerful. So for those of us who haven't faced something as extreme as Jason Redman,
Right.
what can we take away from this?
I think what's really important here is we all face setbacks.
Yeah,
Life throws curveballs.
it does.
But what matters is how we respond.
Okay.
Do we stay stuck on that X or do we get off of it?
That's so true.
And sometimes nobody's coming to save us. Sometimes we have to be our own heroes.
So we've got this meaningful mission.
Right.
We're getting off the X.
Yeah.
What else does Howes tell us we need to do to achieve this greatness?
Okay, so this is where he gets really interesting.
Okay.
He actually says sometimes good isn't good enough.
Hmm.
And he talks about how he had a business that was doing well.
Okay.
He just wasn't feeling fulfilled.
I bet his friends were like, what are you talking about?
Right. Like, you've got this successful business. What more do you want?
You're making money. You're doing all the things.
You're living the dream.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Right. But it's that thing of being stuck in a rut, even if it's comfortable.
Yes.
It's not necessarily what's best for us.
And sometimes it takes a lot of courage to walk away from that.
Absolutely.
Howes talks about quitting baseball even though he was pretty decent at it.
Yeah.
He knew he wasn't going to excel at baseball.
Yeah, he wasn't going to go pro.
So he was like, okay, what are the things that I could really be great at?
Where do my strengths lie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is such a good question for all of us to ask.
Is.
But how do we know when it's time to walk away? What if we're just afraid of failing?
That's where the doubt diagram comes in.
The doubt diagram. Okay.
This is where Howes breaks down fear,
Yeah.
and specifically the 3 core fears.
Okay. Give it to me.
Fear of failure, fear of success,
Uh-huh.
and the fear of judgment.
That's a big one.
And these aren't just other people's fears.
Okay.
He's very open about his own struggles with these fears.
Yeah. I think we all have these to some degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we've all felt like an imposter at some point.
Especially when you start achieving success.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, wait, do I deserve this?
Do I belong here?
Yeah. What if they find out?
Yeah,
Big
exactly.
flop.
So how do we deal with these fears?
Well, that's what we're going to dive into in the next part of this deep dive.
I love it. I'm already feeling inspired.
Yeah, me too.
This is good stuff.
Really good stuff.
Can't wait to hear more.
Awesome. Okay, so we've talked about that meaningful mission and how to get off the X when we face those inevitable setbacks.
Right.
But now let's dig into Howes' advice on actually tackling fear head on.
Yes. Let's unpack that doubt diagram and those 3 core fears.
Yeah,
Fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of judgment.
right.
And I think I've experienced all 3 of those at different points
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we all have.
in my life. So how do we deal with these?
Howes argues that instead of trying to avoid or suppress our fears,
Okay.
we should actually lean into them.
Lean into them.
He says go all in on your fears until they disappear.
Okay. I'm a little scared.
Right. Sounds
Well-
kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, what does that even look like? Going all in on fear.
Yeah. So he gives this great example from his own life. He used to be terrified of talking to girls.
Oh, yeah, I can relate to that.
Right. I think a lot of people can.
Yeah.
So he challenged himself to talk to one new girl every day for a whole summer,
Wow.
just to face that fear head on. And guess what? By the end of the summer, that fear had pretty much vanished.
That's amazing. I love that approach.
It's so simple.
It's like exposure therapy almost.
Exactly. You're exposing yourself to the fear so many times that it loses its power.
Yeah. It's like the monster under the bed isn't so scary when you see it every day.
Right. Exactly. So what's a fear that you're facing right now?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What would it look like to go all in on that fear?
For me, I think it's putting myself out there creatively.
Okay.
I have all these ideas,
Yeah.
but I'm always afraid of judgment and rejection.
So maybe the all-in approach for you would be to challenge yourself to share your work publicly more often,
Yeah.
even if it's just with a small group of friends to start.
Baby steps.
Exactly. Each time you do it, the fear will lessen.
Okay, I like it. Okay, so Howes is all about facing fears head on.
Right.
But what other tools does he give us in that fear conversion toolkit?
Oh, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is the magic minimization formula.
Magic minimization formula. Tell me more.
It's about mentally accepting the absolute worst-case scenario.
Okay, that sounds terrifying.
It sounds counterintuitive, but by imagining the worst that could happen,
Yeah.
you actually reduce the fear's power over you.
Okay, so let's say I'm afraid of public speaking.
Okay.
I imagine myself totally freezing up, forgetting my words.
Everyone's laughing at you.
Everyone's laughing at me, mortified.
Right.
But then instead of letting that fear paralyze me,
Yeah.
I ask myself, okay, then what?
Exactly. And chances are, even in that worst-case scenario,
Yeah.
the world doesn't end. You'll recover. You'll learn from it.
Right.
And you'll move on.
And you know what? I've done that before.
Yeah.
And usually the reality is not nearly as bad
It never is.
as what we imagine.
It's like our minds create
We
these,
have monsters.
yeah, these exaggerated versions of what might happen.
Totally. Okay, so we're minimizing fear.
Right.
We're taking action.
Yeah.
But what about that voice of self-doubt?
Ah, yes, the inner critic.
The inner critic.
Yeah.
How do we silence that thing?
Howes has a great technique called the self-coaching solution.
Okay, I love this.
Have you heard of this one?
I have. I've actually tried it, and I find it really helpful.
So good.
It's basically shifting your self-talk.
Yeah, from negative to positive.
Right. But You do it in the third person.
The third person is key.
It sounds a little weird, but it's so effective.
Give me an example.
Okay, so let's say I'm feeling anxious about a presentation.
Yeah.
Instead of saying to myself, oh, I'm going to mess this up,
Right.
I would say, my name is going to rock this presentation. They're prepared. They're passionate. They've got this.
It's like you're talking to a friend,
Yes.
giving
Th-
them encouragement.
And it just creates that little bit of distance
Yeah.
from those negative thoughts.
You're not so attached to them.
Yeah. And it really does help
So
reframe things in a more positive light.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about minimizing fear,
Yeah.
prioritizing actions,
Right.
how to deal with that inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the prosperity question?
Oh, yes. This one's so good. It's such a simple question.
Remind me what it is.
What would you do if money was no object?
Okay.
And it might seem kind of silly at first, but it's
Yeah.
actually really powerful
How so?
because it forces you to think beyond those practical constraints.
Right. Like I can't afford that.
Exactly. You take money out of the equation
Yeah.
and you're left with your true desires.
What do I really want to do with my life?
Exactly. And you might be surprised by the answers that come up.
It's like permission to dream big.
Yeah, to tap into that unlimited potential.
And that reminds me of something House mentioned earlier about abundance identity.
Oh, yes. That's a key concept.
Can you refresh our memory on what that means?
So abundance identity is the belief that you are enough
Okay.
right now in this moment and that you deserve success and happiness.
It's like shifting from I'm not worthy
Right.
to I am worthy.
Exactly. It's about replacing those scarcity thoughts
So those I don't have enough thoughts.
with affirmations of your worth.
And your potential.
Exactly. And to help solidify this new identity, House suggests writing a meaningful mission manifesto.
Okay, I like that. It makes it more tangible.
It's like a written commitment to yourself.
A declaration of who you are and what you're here to do.
That's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I love it.
And along with that manifesto, it's crucial to start replacing that negative self-talk
Right.
with celebrations of your strengths.
Instead of focusing on what we lack,
Yeah.
let's focus on what we have.
Celebrate those wins, big or small.
Because I think when we celebrate those wins, it just creates more momentum.
It does. It fuels your motivation.
It does. It makes you feel good.
It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back.
For all the hard work you're putting in.
Exactly.
You deserve it. So we've covered a ton of ground, talking about mindset fears, healing those old wounds, and building that strong identity. But I feel like for a lot of us, it comes down to this question of,
Yeah.
okay, I get all this. How do I actually get stuff done?
Right.
Life is so busy and distracting.
It is.
Where do I even start?
Well, House has a great approach for this.
Okay.
He says, focus on the next right thing.
The next right thing. What does that mean?
Instead of getting overwhelmed by the big picture,
Yeah.
just break it down into smaller steps.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you can do right now to move forward?
Don't eat the whole elephant. Just take one bite at a time.
Exactly. And to help with that, he lays out his SAEC method.
Yes. SAEC. Schedule. Automate, eliminate, and celebrate.
Yeah.
Let's break those down. The first one's schedule.
This is all about treating those activities that are crucial to your mission
Okay.
with the same respect you'd give a doctor's appointment.
Right.
Like block out time in your calendar to work on that big project, connect with your mentor, whatever it is.
So I'm not just hoping to find the time, I'm actually making the time.
Exactly. You're being intentional.
Intentional.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
What about automate?
Okay, so think about all those repetitive tasks you do.
Ooh, yeah.
What can you streamline? What can you delegate?
I'm sure Hal's is like a master of automation.
He probably is, but you don't have to be super techie about it.
Okay.
Even just creating a checklist for a recurring task can save you so much time.
Yeah, and brain power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Free up that mental energy for the things that only you can do.
Okay. And then there's eliminate.
Ooh, this one can be tough,
It's so true.
but it's so liberating.
Okay. Tell me more.
It's about getting rid of all that stuff that's not serving you. Energy draining commitments, distractions, habits that don't align with your values.
So saying no to the things that don't matter.
Yes. So you can say yes to the things that do.
I love that.
Yeah.
And finally, celebrate.
My favorite part.
Yes. We all need more celebration in our lives.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's so important to acknowledge those wins,
Big or small.
no matter how small.
It keeps you motivated.
Yeah, it reminds you of your progress.
And it feels good.
It does.
So SAEC, that's a great framework, but it all comes back to those routines and habits
Yeah,
that support a greatness mindset.
100%. It's not about relying on motivation or inspiration.
Right. Those are fleeting.
Yeah, they come and go.
So we need a system.
A system, a structure that keeps you moving forward even when you don't feel like it.
I think so many people wait to feel motivated before they take action,
Yeah.
but it's actually the opposite.
You've got to take action to create motivation.
The action comes first.
Yes.
And those routines, they can be for anything, right? Your morning routine, your work habits, self-care.
Whatever works for you.
Just find those things that make you feel good.
And make them consistent.
And Houzz is all about finding ways to make healthy habits enjoyable.
Oh, yeah. He gamifies things. He finds activities he loves.
He doesn't want it to feel like a chore.
Definitely not. He even talks about challenging his boxing trainer, who's an Olympic medalist.
Wow.
Even though he knows he's going to get destroyed every time.
He still has fun with it.
Yeah, keeps it lighthearted.
That's awesome. And you know what it reminds me of is the fresh start effect.
Oh, tell me about that.
So researchers have found that we're more likely to make changes during those moments that feel like a fresh start.
Okay.
Like New Year's or a birthday.
Oh, yeah. Or even a Monday.
Even a Monday.
Right. Fresh start to the week.
It's like hitting the reset button.
It's a great opportunity to make a commitment.
So pay attention to those moments.
Yeah, capitalize on them.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Oh.
It's about showing up consistently, even when you don't feel like it.
Even when you make mistakes.
That's how we grow.
That's how we build those greatness muscles.
I love that.
Okay.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I feel like I have so many tools now to pursue my goals.
Me too. And I think Houzz would want us to leave you with this question.
Okay.
If you could give yourself permission to pursue any one dream, no matter how crazy it sounds, what would it be?
Wow, that's powerful. It's like taking off those limitations.
Yeah, breaking free from those self-imposed boundaries.
And once you've identified that dream,
Yeah.
what's that very first step you can take to make it a reality?
Because even the biggest dreams start with a single step.
Dream big, but start small.
I love that.
So Houzz Greatness Mindset? It's all about embracing our unique journeys,
Yeah.
pursuing what lights us up.
And becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Yes. Not comparing ourselves to others,
Right.
but just living a life that feels truly meaningful.
And fulfilling.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found these insights valuable and that you'll use them to create a life that feels extraordinary. Until next time.